Most men today aren't weak because they lack strength. They're weak because they avoid conflict. They shut their mouths to keep the peace. They nod when they should say no. They shrink themselves to be liked. And slowly, without even realizing it, they give their power away. If that sounds familiar, listen carefully. Because Friedrich Nietzsche didn't just describe this behavior, he obliterated it. He believed most people live like slaves, not because they're forced to, but because they choose the comfort of obedience over the chaos of being free. This video will make you uncomfortable. It's meant to, because freedom isn't found in peace. It's forged in conflict. 1. The slave inside your head. Nietzsche called it slave morality. It's what happens when you stop fighting and start pretending you don't want power. You act humble, you call it virtue, but deep down, you're seething. That's resentment, and it eats you alive. You tell yourself it's noble to stay quiet, to turn the other cheek, to be the bigger person. But what you're really doing is abandoning yourself. Every time you avoid a fight to keep someone else comfortable, you betray the truth inside you. And Nietzsche warned, the more you suppress your strength, the more dangerous your weakness becomes. 2. The lie of being a good person. Most men are taught that being good means being agreeable, being quiet, being non-confrontational. But Nietzsche says that's not goodness. It's castration. You're not good. You're just scared. You've been trained to believe that standing your ground makes you arrogant, that protecting your boundaries makes you selfish, that demanding respect makes you toxic. So you shrink, you apologize, you let people walk over you. But guess what? The world doesn't reward nice. It rewards clear. It rewards bold. It rewards power. 3. The will to power. At the core of Nietzsche's philosophy is a simple idea. All life is driven by one thing, the will to power. Not money, not love, not comfort, power. Not power over others, but power over yourself. The ability to say no without guilt, to speak without apologizing, to walk away from what drains you, even if it pisses people off. You don't gain that power by avoiding conflict. You earn it by facing it, by going into the tension, standing in the fire, and refusing to flinch. That's where real freedom lives. 4. The peace that poisons you. The peace you're chasing? It's not peace, it's avoidance. You don't want calm. You want to avoid discomfort. You don't want harmony. You just want people to like you. But Nietzsche saw through this mask. He believed that peace without conflict isn't noble. It's rotten. It makes you agreeable on the outside, but bitter on the inside. You tell yourself, I don't want drama. But secretly, you're boiling with frustration. You let others win, then resent them for it. You avoid hard conversations, then hate yourself for staying silent. This fake peace destroys your integrity. And Nietzsche says, that's how men become hollow. 5. The lion, destroying old beliefs. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche describes 3 transformations of the spirit: the camel, the lion, and the child. Most people live like camels. They carry other people's expectations. They submit. They obey. They think that's morality. But then comes the lion. The lion is the destroyer. It says, I will not. I refuse. No more. The lion is the part of you that kills the nice guy, burns the script, shatters the lie. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't seek approval. It tears down every should that's been chained around your neck. But here's the catch. You can't become the lion if you're afraid of making people uncomfortable, because to roar, you must be willing to be hated. 6. How conflict builds character. Conflict isn't a problem. It's a forge. Every time you speak your truth, even if your voice shakes, you sharpen your identity. Every time you say no, when it's easier to say yes, you reclaim your self-respect. You don't build character by avoiding tension. You build it by entering the fire, knowing it might burn, but walking in anyway. Most men spend their lives trying to be liked by everyone, and in the process, they become no one. Nietzsche's message? Be someone, even if it means standing alone. 7. The silence that kills. The most dangerous kind of man isn't the one who yells, it's the one who never speaks, because every word he doesn't say becomes poison inside him. He avoids confrontation to keep the peace, but deep down, he's full of regret. He smiles in public, but dies in private. Nietzsche warned, those who cannot express their rage turn it inward. This is why so many men implode. They never learn to fight with strength, so they punish themselves with silence. But you can break that. 8. Becoming the child, rebirth after rebellion. Once you've roared like the lion, once you've burned down the lies, walked through the conflict, and stopped apologizing for being real, you become something else. Nietzsche called it the child. The child is not weak. It's not naive. It's pure potential. It doesn't carry shame. It doesn't fear judgment. It creates without asking for permission. The child is your rebirth. It's who you are without chains. This is where your power becomes effortless. You don't posture. You don't provoke. You simply are, and that alone disturbs people who still live in fear. 9. Your power is uncomfortable. Let's be clear. You won't be loved for doing this. When you start speaking your mind, people will call you arrogant. When you stop chasing approval, they'll call you cold. When you stop tolerating disrespect, they'll say you've changed. They're right. You have. Because the man you were was dying by inches, smiling to be accepted, compromising to stay safe, faking calm while burning inside. But now you radiate clarity, and clarity makes people uncomfortable. Good. Let them squirm. You weren't born to be digestible. 10. The danger of undeveloped power. Here's the part most people miss. You can't skip to the child phase without becoming the lion first. If you try to be free, without learning to fight, you become fragile. You break under pressure. You chase peace but run from truth. Nietzsche's philosophy isn't about chaos. It's about integration. First, you obey. Then you rebel. Then, finally, you create something new. But that middle step, the conflict, is where most people quit. They want freedom, but not the fight it demands. 11. This isn't about hate. It's about truth. This isn't about starting drama. It's not about being aggressive, cruel, or loud for no reason. It's about becoming someone who is unshakable, someone who has walked through fire and came out refined, not angry, not bitter, but real. You can love people and still draw lines. You can be kind. Without being weak, you can be silent. Without being submissive. But first, you have to kill the fear. That makes you betray yourself. 12. This is how you become free. Nietzsche's path is simple, but it's not easy. First, see the lies. Then, reject the mask. Then face the storm. And finally, walk out of it as someone no longer controlled by fear, guilt, or approval. That is what real freedom feels like. Not safety, not peace, but power. If this hit you in the chest, good. That's the lion waking up. Drop a comment. What's one conflict you've been avoiding? And if this gave you strength, share it with a man who needs to remember who he is. Subscribe for more truths that won't flatter you, but will free you. The war isn't out there. It's inside, and the man who wins it becomes untouchable.